now the normal time in our proceedings to continue with a thing we instituted some months ago that really seems to be working well, and that is a period of discussion where you get to raise anything that comes to mind from any of the foregoing. So it's your opportunity to express whatever thoughts or feelings you might have had that came up in any of today's service, and I just referee. So it's over to you now.
It's funny enough, actually, what you were sort of suggesting before, that the various reasons why a person could sort of come to these type of places, that in a sense the suggestion was that silence was a huge component of that, and then in fact everything else could be addressed in some other way. But strictly speaking, silence is another one of those things you can officially get elsewhere.
Indeed.
In a sense, this kind of place is almost an encapsulation of many various aspects. In fact, if anything, I would suggest that the thing that distinguishes this place from many other places is essentially the element of community in a way.
Mm. I agree. Meeting houses like these were originally meant in the wake of the Protestant Reformation to remove sensory stimulus from the attendance of church, and to, again, just give you what you need. There's a quality in the space, yes, of community. But there's also something to be said for a space, a ritual space, and this is Neolithic, really, this tendency to go where you're not comfortable, but where you're just covered from the elements and have only what you need. And that seems to be echoed in the design of this building. We have, assuming that there were going to be services during the day that would be light enough, to be able to see what you were doing, someplace to sit. And that's about it, really. Not a lot more.
Just an interesting thought. Just trying to get an understanding of what you meant before. This idea between the difference between something that is simply psychological and something that's elsewise. But what aspect would you say would make it elsewise?
That really is hard to describe, and it's experiential. And I'm not sure. I think the point of that dichotomy is that I'm not sure, but I kind of like not being sure.
So, in a strange sense, there you're sort of pretty convinced. It's just that.
No.
Oh, okay.
I'm not convinced. I like to leave open the possibility.
Right.
That this might be A and it might be B. How many of you during the silence found yourself waiting for the baby's next sound? Well, you gotta be honest. And did you at any point try to, as it were, back yourself off of being attached to that thought? And that's kind of the whole exercise, is to notice that you have a thought. Don't beat yourself up for having one. And then just sort of observe yourself having the thought. And it's this observing consciousness that's the pure awareness. Not aware of anything, just aware. And we frequently get attached to sensory, my feet are cold, this chair is hard, the baby's gurgling, things like that. How many of you responded to thoughts and feelings that came in that had absolutely nothing to do with what was actually going on here, but like from the past or from earlier today, or things you're expecting later in the week?
I'm not very good at this meditation.
Well, it took me 9 months of daily application to get anywhere with it, and I wouldn't say that I got
very hard on it,
Yeah.
to be honest. but I didn't actually back then
Mm-hmm.
play with my mind as often I do when there's nothing happening externally. But in respect to the baby, I thought it was easier just to look at the baby and think how beautiful she is than try and meditate, because I actually did manage to go somewhere where I was quite quiet, and the cough, it was a bit like once before I was sitting in the garden trying to do this, and the dog barked, and I got such a shock that I thought that I came back so suddenly, and then I went back again, and then she coughed again, and that's when I decided to just enjoy her.
Yeah.
Which was fine, because I'm not a great meditator, you know.
Actually, I think you're a very good meditator, because you've come across the sort of the second threshold. If this were a video game, you've done the first level, and you're now on the second level of the game, which is, you know, how not to respond to oral stimulus. I used to get apoplectic at birdsong. I was trying to, you know, a little garden in England, little birds tweeting out the window, and I love them. Quiet, try to meditate. That's silly. And then you notice yourself having that thought, and then you back away from having the thought. It's about attachment and non-attachment. And again, you're not going to achieve it in 10 minutes. TM at its very basic practice is 20 minutes twice a day, every day, at the same time before meals. So you can't be digesting while you're doing this. So there's very particular sets of circumstances that have to be regulated in your life to achieve it. And it's not for everybody. But yeah, you're at the second level. Who says you're no good?
Very quickly.
I am somewhat interested. What is there any particular sort of functional difference between this kind of meditation and essentially daydreaming?
Yeah, you should probably read. I know you're a big reader. You should probably check out the Science of Living in the Art of Being by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, who founded Transcendental Meditation. Very good explanation of how it differs, and all the scientific studies in it about the reading of alpha waves generated by the brain in states of deep meditation, and how how that is, and how that's different from daydreaming.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose
it's not sleep and it's not thinking. It's sort of somewhere to get into liminal space, threshold space.
Yeah.
Although sometimes I fell asleep.
Yeah.
Because that's what I needed to do. I was tired. And I would go to my meditation teacher and say, I'm falling asleep, what's going on? She said, well, you should sleep more. Can't argue with that logic. Yes, true. It's not sleep and it's not daydreaming, it's somewhere in between. I encourage anybody who's interested to read up on it. It's probably the one, it's one thing I don't practice anymore that I wish I still did, and probably will at some point, once life gets more regulated. When will that be? But it's interesting to watch the way your own mind attaches itself to thoughts and sensations. And even the expectation that I must be meditating. I cannot be having dogs bark or babies coo. I am. It's like this attachment to this. I gotta do this. But yeah, I mean, it's you're, as I say, you're at the second level there. I'd say that Brian, at its most finely balanced state, you're simply aware, but not aware of anything. Not even aware of your own awareness.
Yeah.
So you may not like that, but that's the point you get to.
I mean, I remember, unfortunately, never actually went through a teach or anything on those lines, but used to do meditation my own.
TM's free.
Yeah.
It's public service. You do need a teacher, I think. It's not something you can pick up from a book.
No.
Or a visit to Buddha House down in town is salutary.